Hey guys, it's Attempster here again. I'm going to be doing the last tutorial for the how to make a grenade in the Blender game engine. So this is going to be all the logic bricks and making it all work together. So yeah, let's get started. First we're going to have to go up to File here in the top corner and go to Open or Open Recent and open up your grenade file we made last tutorial. So you may just want to click Open and then browse for the file, or well, it should be in Open Recent if you haven't done too much else. So what we made last tutorial was some smoke, a big explosion, some sparks and some rubble, and we made a little grenade here. So that's pretty cool. What we need to do though is what I forgot to do in the other tutorial is go to the material settings and click object color. So we're going to have to do that for all the materials, because if you've done one of the other tutorials we'll probably be animating the alpha. So do that to all of them except the rubble. You can leave the rubble because that doesn't need to fade. But yep, so you can join that window up and we'll just start off with the smoke. So down here you can drag this to the bottom, well, frame 0. Press S to scale it. So something like that's fine, and then I and we'll want to do scaling, and then move it to 60, and then scale it a little bit more, and then press I and scaling. So now in 1 second it should go that big, but it's not if you notice the frames per second in the top. So we need to go to the render settings and set that to 60. Now if we go back to the start and press play, then slowly gets bigger, which is cool. But smoke doesn't just get bigger and disappear, it also fades. So drag the playback thing back to 0. Then once you've selected under material settings, once you've selected object color, you can go into the object properties and right click object color, insert keyframe, then go all the way to 60, left click on it, drag that down, and then right click on it and insert keyframe. So now what we've done is we've made it invisible on this frame, invisible on that one, and between 60 frames it will fade out like that. So now we have to do the same thing for the explosion. So for this explosion, the scaling is going to be a bit different. So we're going to press S, we're going to scale it, and we're going to press I, insert scaling, and then going to go to frame 60. I'm going to make it really big. We won't even have it spawn we'll probably only have it, actually no point going to all the way to 60. It's only going to be alive for maybe 20 at the most. So we're going to go to frame 20, you can use this little button here to move around if you need to. And then we're going to press S and make it nice and big, because it is going to happen in like a second, and so even that's probably a little bit too slow. Maybe even S and then I, insert scaling, because we'll only have it about there. But we can muck around with that later. Go into the object settings for explosion, frame 0, and then insert keyframe, and frame 20. Drag the alpha to nothing, insert another keyframe. Yep, and then so we've got the explosion done, the smoke done, now we just need the sparks here. So drag that to layer 1, or frame 1, press S, scale it down a bit, I, insert scaling, then go to frame 60, press S, scale it quite a bit, then press I, insert scaling, go to frame 0, right click here, make sure you're in the properties tab, right click here, insert keyframe, left click, drag it down, oh no, go to frame 60, left click, drag it down, and then right click, insert keyframe. No, it should be okay. You might even need to, just for now, make it a bit, even just a bit bigger. Make sure you're on frame 60 when you're scaling it, and then press I, scaling. If you do it like 59 or 61, then it's going to scale out slowly, and then it's just going to muck around with it. It's going to go backwards, or something strange is going to happen. So when you're re-keyframing it, make sure it's right on the keyframe it was on before. So now that's done, we can press Ctrl S, save, and gonna go to layer 1. We can press M, move that to layer 2, then Shift S, cursor to center, Shift A, add a cube, and this is going to be our explosion spawn. Now you might be wondering, why use cubes? Why don't I just use an empty? I mean, you're trying to spawn another mesh inside a mesh. It's probably not too good. Well, actually, I'll change that to no collision, and invisible. Actually, what happens is spawning stuff with an empty does work, but the if you're trying to spawn stuff in it and say it's a little bit too small or too big, and you try to scale the empty in any sort of way, then it completely mucks around with the spawning, and the animation starts like halfway through and it just goes all funny, and you have these sort of yeah, it just doesn't look very great. I've tried, I thought the same thing, but for now I'm just going to use cubes. That's the only thing that's been properly working. But either way, we're going to go up here and go to game logic, and then going to add in a keyboard, and just for testing purposes, and make it a not regular press key. So let's just say E, and then we're going to add an edit object and join those two together just by dragging. Go into object, and you could scroll down and find it, or you can just type in the first few letters and explosion should pop up. I'm going to change the time to about 10. And now if we go into text view and press P and press E, should get a nice little explosion popping up. It is the wrong way around though, so RX90, and we press P and press E again, and there we go. Nothing's happening though, because we haven't told this to be playing its animation of getting bigger and disappearing. So an always sensor, not with true on. So yeah, just leave it, then add an action on this side, join them together, and give it explosion action, and in frame 60. You can also, if you want, give it a motion and have it moving slightly upwards, but I'm not going to bother because we're going to do that with the smoke anyway. So press P once you're back on layer 1, and then you can press E, and we have a nice explosion popping up in our face. And from a grenade, that's probably staying there a bit too long, and it's probably a bit too big. So just for our sake, we're going to turn that down to something like 5. See what that does? And that's a bit better. I still like it a bit bigger, so maybe 6. There we go. So I'm happy with that. So anyway, now we got the explosion working nicely. We just need to add in some smoke and stuff. So we're going to select this cube, we're going to push Shift D and then GZ, and this is going to be the smoke spawn. So we can go into object settings here and type in smoke spawn, press enter. Then we're going to change this to smoke, so you can just type in smoke and then, or just SMO, and it should pop up. And the lifetime we're going to turn up to 60. Now if we press P and E, then we have some smoke spawning, but it's way too big and it looks funny. So we'll go into layer 2 and select the smoke and add an always and the action for it. Go to smoke action, 60. And also what we're going to do for the smoke is add a motion, and that should be fine. Might even be too much, and it's going in a funny direction. So we need to go down here from global and change it to local. This gives us the true direction of the smoke, so it's actually positive Y. So we need to turn off the Z direction and change it to positive Y, and go back to layer 1 and press P and E, and we have some rising smoke. However, in my opinion, smoke is spawning way too low, blocking out most of the explosion, and it starts off way too big. So I'm going to press SC just for the smoke itself. I'm going to drag up here in this little corner, give it a timeline, and going to go to frame 60 and press S and scale it a little bit more. That might even be too much, maybe just a little bit less. So that should be fine. We also need to press tab and then press A, deselect everything, A to reselect everything, and then GZ, and move that yellow dot down to the bottom. This means that the smoke thing will spawn in the middle of the cube, exactly where that yellow dot is. So where the yellow dot is on this cube, the origin, that's exactly where the yellow dot of the smoke will spawn. So now if we press E, P and E, then it's working, but we only get the bottom of the explosion. What we can also do is go to layered. You have to drag this down because you won't be able to see anything otherwise, but I'm going to turn down the emit, just one, and turn down the alpha because it's a bit too bright for me, or too thick, so maybe 0.8, give that a go. That could work. Maybe 0.7. And we're going to turn the motion up as well for the smoke. I think in the original one I even had it at 0.4. Yeah, also noticed is this explosion isn't very bright, so we might actually turn off object color to keep the brightness. Press E. So it's working fine. What we can also do to manipulate the color is go into the textures tab and do something like 1.2, so we'll saturate it a lot more, make it a lot stronger, but maybe 1.1. it will be a lot more visible. Might also, oh, it is shadeless. Try it, mate, see if that does a difference. That just makes it yellow. So leave it on shadeless. Can turn up the color if you want, or you can go into the original explosion file and make it brighter. But for now, I'm fine with what I've got. You could also go into GIMP, turn up the brightness, but it'll be fine. So yeah, that's working fine. Now what we need is some variation. So we're going to press, selecting the smoke spawn, we're going to press Shift D, GY, and then RX, and then GZ, and then Shift D, GY, and then RX, and spin around the opposite way. And then we're going to do that one more time, selecting the middle one, Shift D, GX, RY, GZ, and then GX maybe a little bit, and then select the middle one again, and Shift D, GX, RY, GZ, and GX. So now if we press P and press E, we have lots and lots of smoke going in different directions, which is cool. It's a little bit, I'm going to turn down the alpha of the smoke again, just because it piles up on itself, and maybe 0.65. What I'm also going to do is that smoke wall's too big, so I'm going to go to frame 0 and scale it down, then press I, scaling. Maybe you can just a bit more, I, scaling, go to frame 60, press S, and that should be okay, and so scaling there as well. Now if we press P and E, you'll notice that the angle of the smoke is a bit crazy. It's going to press RY and just change the angle of that. So the positive Y on the cube is where it's spawning out of, just so you know what direction it's coming from. It's GY, RX, RX, GY, GY, and so you can keep tweaking it till you're happy with it. So I'm fine with that. I'm going to drag that down to 0. So I like that. I'm fine with that one. I'm going to press RY, move it, GX, move it in a bit more, RY a bit more, and I'm also going to press RZ, and just give it some random, the smoke, some random rotation. Now we're going to press E, and scroll out. Yeah, it's looking quite nice. Click on the middle cube, the smoke spawn, not the smoke spawn, actually click on the bottom cube here, the original explosion spawn, and before we do anything else, actually layer 2, select the explosion, go into physics tab and change it to no collision and invisible. Actually, no, the explosion stays on static, the smoke is no collision though, and the sparks here are no collision as well. Explosion is though. And reason for that is if something is hit by the explosion, then it can trigger stuff like blowing up a fuel tank, for example, like I did, or lighting something on fire or whatever. You probably think that doing it with the icosphere would probably be best, but it didn't work for me, so I'm just going to use the explosion. You can feel free to do the icosphere if you want to. but we're going to select this bottom one here. Then we're going to go to edit object, which is there, join it up to the same one, and add an object sparks. So there we go, sparks. Give it a time of 60. So press P and E, and we see it spawning in the middle, and that's because we haven't told it what to do. So add an always, add an action, join them together, and we should be fine. Now if we press P and press E, we have some nice sparks. What we can also do is select the explosion spawn and give it some velocity in the Y direction. I think 2. Then we go to layer 2 and give the sparks a dynamic property, act as ghost, and this means that when we press P and press E, the sparks fall, and this is sort of like, I don't know, it makes it look a bit nicer. So now you're probably wondering, why is everything so big? And it's sort of almost stupid. It's like something like C4 or a proper nuclear bomb or something. But reason for that is the spawner that we're spawning it on, which is the grenade, is so small that it balances it out. So what we're going to do is, we'll add that in later, but that's the reason why everything's so big. Actually, we can do that now. So press M, move that to layer 1, and select the grenade and add a what we're going to add, we're going to add a delay, and I think I have a delay of like 180. I'm not even sure. Just click, no, don't click repeat, and then add an edit object and just join that up. Don't put anything in yet, because what we have to do is get that out of the way. We have to press C and then press B and select all of this. And press Shift A, add a cube, set it somewhere in the middle like this, then press B, select everything else, and Control P, parent, which means that when we move this around, the whole explosion framework moves around as well. What that means is that if we tell the grenade, instead of like putting in every single spawner all at once, we can just tell it to spawn the parented object, and all the children of that parent will get spawned in as well, which is quite handy. So we're going to call this explosion grenade, and we're going to click the grenade and we're going to give it the explosion grenade and give it a time of 60. And then you can select all that and press M and move it to layer, we'll just do this one, number 6 I think, or 12 or something. And then if we go into textured mode and press P, and the delay works properly. Oh, we haven't said, no we have. Yep. Oh, well, move this over here. Oh yeah, we're gonna add we need a grenade spawner, so something that will spawn the grenade, so we can have a keyboard of Z, and we're gonna add an edit object, and edit object the grenade, so oh, I haven't named this, it's still called sphere, so grenade, we're going to select this and choose grenade, time of, well, we just leave that at 0 because when we select the grenade we're going to add another edit object on the grenade here, and we're going to change this to end object. Yeah, that should work. So then press M, move that to layer 6 or 12 or whatever it is. The one underneath number 1, and then we're going to press P and press Z. And it's disappearing like that. And there we go. If we press E, then the explosion's popping up. And the reason why it's not popping up otherwise is because we set this to E, not to whatever else was happening. So select the parent and select one of these. Actually, select the parent and give it a keyboard. You can change this to collision later if you want, and we'll change that to X. And then actually no, we can just select the parent and just add an always, and select each one, delete the keyboard, press H after you're done so it hides it. Press H for that one, delete that, H for that one, delete that, H for that one, and for the last one, there we go. Then press Alt H and it will bring them all up again. Then we can select the shift and left click the cube, and we can join all of these up together. So that should go away. So that should work quite well. We'll just go to layer 1, textured view, and press P, and then press C, and there we go. Press C, and we have our explosion happening after 3 seconds, and that's too long for me. I don't want to wait for that every time. I'm going to turn that down to maybe 120. The edit object of the explosion grenade doesn't need to be more than 10, so I'll just leave that. Press P, C, and there we go. So it's exploding all by itself now, which is good. One problem, the grenade stays still, so we're going to go to layer 6, right click grenade, physics tab, and dynamic. What this does is, we're going to get a collision box as well. Go back to layer 1, press P, and there we go. Now there's this box in the middle if you look closely, which we can still see, and I'm guessing that's what we parented everything to. Yes, it is. So no collision and invisible. See if that makes a difference. Press P and Z. There we go. So we have a nice looking explosion. So there you go, guys. There's how to get your grenade working nicely. What you do with this grenade spawn is, I'm not quite sure how you'd try implement it into first person shooters or whatever, but you might want to do is have it sort of like that, then press P and Z. What you probably don't want to do is have it being so big, so we're going to press S and scale it down. I'm going to try it again, press P and Z, and it's stuck inside the cube, so change the cube to no collision and invisible. Press C, we have a nice little cube popping up. What is a pain though, and might be for you as well, is that it's just falling out pretty much, like drooling out the side of the spawn. It has no real velocity, so we're on local, so we can see that the positive X is where it's coming out of. So click local and give the positive X a linear velocity. I think something around 2 was good. Even that's way too weak, so maybe something like 20. And then select the plane, make that a lot bigger. There we go. Something like that could work fine. So pretty much all we need to do right now is make the rubble for when the explosion happens. So we're going to go to layer 2. We're going to select the icosphere, press H to hide it. Same for the explosion and same for the smoke. Then we're going to press B and drag it over the rubble, or the fractured cube we made last tutorial. Then we're going to press M and move it to layer 6 with the grenade, and then just GX to move it out of the middle so we can see what we're doing. And what we actually, move it along a bit more, then press Shift A at a cube. This is going to be called Rubble Spawner, and this is going to spawn one piece of rubble. So what we have to do is assign each piece of rubble to one of these cubes, so we'll get 1 cube each. So we're going to tilt that a little bit, like that, and we're going to have an always sensor. Actually, we don't need that. We select one of these and join the rubble spawner at an end and join it up to the always that the explosion is using. Then add an edit object, join those two together, and edit object cube cell. Then we're going to press Shift, maybe add that to 360. 6 seconds should be enough. Then we're going to click local and give it a starting velocity of maybe, the other one needed 20, so hopefully that should be enough. And then we're going to press Shift D, RZ, spin it around a bit. And this time we're going to change it to Cube Cell 01. Do that again. Change this to Cube Cell 02. And press Shift D again, and then RZ. This time we're going to do RX as well. And RZ a bit more. And just for variation, this time number 3, then Shift D, RZ. And then number 4. And number 5. And then we're going to select this one. Just Shift D to duplicate it, and gonna add number 6. Add number 7 to that one, give it a bit more angle, and that's it, there's only 7. Now if we press P and go into textured view, we should or have to just move that to layer 1, see what happens. Spawning one huge block. So go back to layer 6 and select all our rubble and press S. Make it nice and small because we don't want huge pieces of rubble. Press P and we have 1 spawning. That's because the rest aren't joined up, just remembered. But before we do anything else, because it's because it's rigid body, it's going to do a fairly high amount of glitching. So change all of these to no collision and invisible. Then press H to hide each one after you've done so you don't have problems with selecting ones that have already been done. And that one's already, yeah, press Alt H because there was 1, this one. Okay, so now if we press P, we have 1 piece that flies up quite high. So maybe turn up this a bit, and turn that down to maybe, let's just say 10 should be fine. The annoying thing for this part is you're going to have to do 10 for each one. Press H, next one, 10, some of that, local H, 10. So you don't want to you want to have done most of your tweaking in the previous one, but I was silly and didn't check the height. So we're just going to have to tweak all of them. Maybe even give it some variation to 13. And we'll leave a couple at 24. And maybe even turn that one down to 8. 8's a good value. And turn that one down to maybe 9. Give it some of that, and that should work. Okay, now we press P, and we have 1 spawning not too high, which is good, because if we press Alt H and bring all these back and select this one, then we have keyboard Z, wrong one. Select all that and then press M, move to layer 6, and select one of these from the explosion one. This will trigger the, then you'll be able to find the always sensor, which we're linking everything to, and then it's just a matter of holding down shift and clicking inside this bunch of cubes until you get to ones like that, and you just keep clicking until you get to one that hasn't been joined, then you join it up. There we go. Then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Rubble spawner 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So that's all of them done now. So select all that, then GX and press 7, put it there, then GZ, move it down into the middle here, press O to turn off that annoying thing that does stuff, and then press S, scale it down a bit. And don't press A, keep it selected, and try and select that middle cube, this one, and make sure you've got explosion grenade, the one you parented it to. That might be up here or wherever you put it. And then press Control P and parent, so now it spawns the smoke and the rubble. So if we press P and Z, oh, some rubble. What's this? Oh, there's one we're missing. Move that to layer 6 and select that and that one again. Turn that one up. Move it into the middle. And select the middle cube. No. Another way you can do this is go down here and hold down Shift and click grenade spawn, or explosion grenade, and then you can select it as well. Now we're going to press Control P and parent it. Now if we press C, we get some rubble. We get one piece. We press S and make it a bit bigger. Make sure none of that is going underneath the map. That's strange. That should be working. Go back to layer 6 and press tab on the grenade and GZ. Move that to the bottom. Actually move that to the top. Bottom or... Actually don't do any of that. Select the explosion grenade and... Wait, no, we don't want it above it, we want it. So press tab and then press GZ and move it down to underneath the explosion, then origin to geometry. So it'll spawn there and then the rest of the explosion will be there. Might even want it a bit higher. Okay, so I figured out what it was. It's the explosion, we set it on static, which means that as it spawns the explosion, it goes and kicks out all of the rubble, and that was obviously going way too fast, so we couldn't see any of it, which means that what we have to do is go into the layer with your rubble, select each piece and select ghost, then press H and do that for each piece. This just means it will go through the floor, but you'll still be able to see it, which will be good. There we go, works fine. So you can see all the dirt, or not dirt, all the pieces of rubble. If you wanted them to, you sort of look at it and then it's just a bit, doesn't really, they look too much the same, they're not moving or anything. You can go down into each of the, or just click one of these and go down into the rubble spawners and give it more angular velocity under the edit object. So you press your scroll button down and drag and then turn up your velocity, and don't do it for every single one, give it a bit of variation. Variation always looks good. I'm going to turn that one minus. No, we can't see anything. There we go, spinning quite nicely. That lined smoke might be a bit annoying, so if you go to layer 2, I think if you go select the smoke, and I think it might be this middle face here. See what that does. There we go, that's looking a lot smoother. So, that's pretty much it, guys. How to make a explosion in the, how to make a grenade in the Blender game engine. So press Ctrl S, save that, and yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial, got something from it. Feel free to like and share and comment and that sort of stuff. Really helps out. Really like the support. Sort of gives me inspiration to make more videos and show you guys more stuff. I'll see you guys next time.